morning, Kidwell. It's really good to see your guys' faces. I know it's been a very odd week, and it's been dark and lots of ash falling from the sky. And I've had to do a lot of praying that God would help me with my faith, that I believe that He knows what's going on. He knows each one of us. And to be reminded of what we've been learning the last couple weeks in Psalm 139. Where he talks about how much he knows us. Remember, we talked about that a couple weeks ago, of he knows the nitty gritty about us. And then, if we can be reminded of last week, that, let's see, there's a couple things we have to remember. We have to remember that you are beautiful. And you have to remember that you are wonderfully made. And that you're created by God. You are known by God. And you were created to be you. You know, when I was little, I was that little kid in class that talked too much, that would get kicked out of the classroom and get in trouble. And I would be so confused of, wait, but I feel like this is how God made me. I'm talkative and I like people and I like to be around people, and I was always getting in trouble. So then I just made a decision that I guess He made a mistake, and that something obviously was wrong with me because I talked too much and I bugged people and I got in trouble. And then somebody luckily talked to me and read that verse to me, that we are wonderfully and fearfully made, that God knew us before we were even born. And there was nothing wrong with me, that He had created in me this spirit that loved people, that wanted to talk to people, and that I just had to learn when and where to do it. And I wasn't very good at that yet. I just had to get a little older and I had to learn. But then look, I became a teacher. And then look, I started working for a church where I talk all the time. So obviously He knew exactly what He was doing. I just had to learn how to use the gifts that He gave me. There was no mistake made. And this week we're on the very end of our psalm. And this particular psalm was written by David. And if you remember David and Goliath, it's the same David. And he would write these psalms. They're almost like songs that he would sing before the Lord, poems he would say before the Lord. And at the very end, he's talked about how God knows us. He's talked about how we're wonderfully and fearfully made. He didn't make any mistakes with us. And now it says, at the very end, Psalm 139 and 23, it says, "Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." So let me put that in kid language. So, kid languages, search me, God, and know my heart. So you're giving God permission to really come in and really search out your heart and know what you're thinking. And see if there's anxious things in you, which right now there might be anxious things in you. And then when you kind of discover, okay, what are those anxious things, and you put them before God. God, okay, I'm anxious because of this weird weather, or I'm anxious because I'm sitting in front of a computer, or I'm anxious because my parents are worried and I'm worried for them. You put that in front of God. You hand it over to Him. So He searches your heart. He knows you. He knows all those fears that you have. You hand them over to Him and you ask Him for help. How do I deal with these things, God? What do I let go of? What do I work through? And He'll help you with that. And then it says, see if there's any offensive way in me. In other words, is there some sort of sin in your life, something that's holding you away from God? God's holy, so He needs to have that perfection. So is there something that's separating you from God that you need to confess? So you see if there's any offensive way in you. And if there is, then you ask for His forgiveness. And then you're all wiped clean. It says, and lead me in the way everlasting. That He'll show you what it's like to follow Him. And He'll lead you in that path in following God. So I want to encourage you guys this week that you keep finding a second in the day that you get to spend some time just you and God, and that you say, okay, test me and search me, God. If there's any kind of anxiety in me, any kind of worries, help me with those. If there's anything in me that's holding me away from you so that I can follow you, so I can learn about you, so I can be more like you to people, show me that, God. And really, we can't find any of that if we don't take a second to be quiet and to hear him. When we're all loud and crazy, we can't hear him. So just take a second in your room, maybe before you go to sleep, and just spend some time talking quietly to him. And then if you get a chance, some of you have this Bible, the Adventure Bible. If you do, you look up Psalm 139. It's 1 through 24. It's 24 verses. And it's what we've been doing the last 3 weeks. And you get it deep in your heart that he knows you. He made you. No mistakes were made. Sometimes we have to mature and we have to grow into those gifts that he gave us. Sometimes we don't do it right, like I didn't. I talked all the time. Had to learn when and where. And then know that he wants to know your heart and help you work through things. And he wants to be there for you. So you take a second this week where you get to just listen to him, hear him, share with him what's happening inside you, share with others. I hope you have a great week, Kidwell. We miss you. Hope you got your Kidwell Cube. Hope you are doing your lessons with your parents and just continuing. Use this time to really continue to learn about God, whether we're together in our church or whether you're having church at home with your parents. Either way, God's big and he's wherever we are. So take a second to spend time with him this week. All right, bye, Kidwell.